What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here, and I want to welcome you to Subclass School, the series where I teach you everything you need to know about every subclass in Destiny. So a couple disclaimers to start. These videos take a ton of time and effort to produce, so leaving a like on the video would mean a lot to me. Let's shoot for 10,000 likes on this one. Next, I do all my own testing, but I also use the Destiny Data Compendium to cross-reference my findings, or for certain values like damage resistance. It's an extremely great resource, and I leave a link to it in the description of every single one of my videos. So shout out to the wonderful people who work on that spreadsheet. Also, when doing my testing, I don't use any aspect, fragment, or mod that could interfere with the testing. So you are seeing everything at its base level, so that you know exactly how it works at a baseline. Next, a big thank you to my friends and clanmates who help me test the things that require 2 or more people. It means a lot. And lastly, I am trying to reach 50,000 subscribers before the final shape, so do me a solid and hit subscribe. I know it seems like a lofty goal, but nearly 90% of my viewers are not subscribed. Now, I'm not too bad at math, so if we can bring that closer to even 50%, then I know we can reach 50k in no time. I have a ton of great content planned, so I know you won't regret it. Anyways, that's it, let's get into the video. So in today's video, we'll be going over the Void aspects. There are 3 aspects per class, so we'll start with the Hunter and go in alphabetical order. Meaning first up, we have Stylish Executioner. This aspect states defeating a weakened, suppressed, or volatile target grants invisibility and true sight. After performing a Stylish Executioner, your next melee attack while invisible weakens targets. So when we kill an enemy affected by one of these Void debuffs, we get 8 seconds of invisibility and 4 seconds of true sight. And we get a 2-second cooldown called Too Stylish, so that we can't keep proccing this over and over. But really, the 2-second cooldown isn't all that bad. And we can also hit an enemy with our melee when we're invis to proc weaken on the enemy. And I did test it with a glaive melee to see if it would work, and sadly it does not. Back in the season when Witch Queen launched, we had a mod called Suppressing Glaive, and it paired so well with this build. So I was hoping the weaken would work so that you could get a pseudo-suppressing glaive type build, but alas, we cannot. Regardless, Stylish Executioner is a very good aspect and a must run if you're rocking a Gerfalcon's Halberg build. The next Hunter aspect to take a look at is Trapper's Ambush. Activate Quickfall to spend your melee charge and dive to the ground, creating a large smoke cloud on impact, which then dissipates. Targets caught in the cloud are all weakened, and allies are made invisible. Your smoke bomb makes nearby allies invisible when it attaches to nearby surfaces or targets. So this is another awesome way to go invis. You can do your air move to dive to the ground, making you and nearby allies invisible. This is extremely strong with Omnioculus Hunter because it grants melee energy back for making teammates invisible, plus it provides you with damage resistance. And this dive will weaken enemies for 10 seconds. So again, it's just another way to lean into that Hunter invis fantasy. And I spoke at length in the verb section about how great invisibility is for new players getting into endgame content. And this aspect allows you to abuse invis if you build into it the right way. Spec into 100 mobility and Gambler's Dodge, and you will almost never be without a smoke bomb. And when you dodge, you can go invis thanks to our next aspect, Vanishing Step. This reads, dodging makes you invisible. Probably the shortest description of any aspect in Destiny 2. Simple, yet effective. The Hunter dodge cooldown can be quite short if you're spec'd into mobility, and I already spoke about how you can run Gambler's Dodge to get invis smoke bombs back with Trapper's Ambush, and when you do that dodge, you can go invis, and if you dodge while already invis from Trapper's Ambush, then it will extend the invis effect to the longer duration. This is a very cool interaction, and all your invis timers can also be extended with Echo of Persistence, so every Hunter aspect is heavily built into invisibility. And the Vanishing Step dodge is great for quickly and easily taking advantage of many things the Void Kit has to offer. Again, if you're on a Gerfalcon's build, you can just dodge to get the loop going, and boom, now you have volatile rounds which can pierce barrier shields, apply volatile to enemies, and proc Stylish Executioner, all from one simple invis dodge. And this dodge also has a unique animation, so don't be too thrown off by it at first. Your Gambler's Dodge and Marksman Dodge will look the same, but the benefits they provide are the same as on any other Hunter subclass. So that'll wrap it up for the Hunter aspects. They're pretty basic and straightforward. Let's move on to the Titan ones next, starting with Bastion. Bastion states, cast your super to grant overshield to nearby allies. Casting your barricade grants overshield to yourself and nearby allies and empowers it, enabling it to slowly regenerate the overshield of allies bunkering behind it and extend their overshield duration. So this is a great aspect because on Titan, your overshield can do a lot for you. and this allows you to get many overshields all just from casting your barricade. And because resilience is broken, you should always be running 100, especially on a Titan, so this aspect can be procced very often. But because this effect is so good, especially in PvP, Bungie actually nerfed the cooldown of barricades with this aspect equipped. So normally a rally barricade at 100 resil takes 22 seconds to regenerate, and now it's 47. And a towering is normally 41 seconds, and now it's 59. So definitely something you want to be aware of. The compendium shows us all the info on health stats and whatever else you're interested in. And when you cast the barricade, it gives full overshield, and then you can go refresh it, and when you stand behind it, the overshield slowly regens over a few seconds. But yeah, that's basically everything you need to know about the Bastion aspect. Next is an extremely powerful aspect in controlled demolition. Hitting a target with a void ability or volatile rounds makes them volatile. Further damage to a volatile target causes them to explode. Grants you and nearby allies health when volatile targets explode near you. So the compendium doesn't have a lot of info, but it does state that you get 90 HP back for you and your allies when you explode volatile targets within 40 meters, which is a super big radius. I was shocked when I read that. But yeah, this fragment is an absolute ad clear menace. If you can tag a few enemies with volatile, then they will spread that volatile, and next thing you know, you can have tons of enemies just exploding everywhere. It is amazing for ad clear, especially when lots of enemies are tightly grouped up. It's a wonderful aspect. And that brings us to the final Titan aspect, Offensive Bulwark. This states, while you have an overshield or are inside Ward of Dawn, your grenade charges significantly faster. You have increased melee range and damage, and melee final blows extend the duration of your void overshield. You gain an additional shield throw while in Sentinel Shield. So the best part about this aspect is the fact that it reduces your base grenade regen rate by 400% when you have an overshield. This is extremely strong and can make for some great ability spam builds. It also doubles your melee damage, which is really awesome, and this can be super strong on a Peregrine Greaves shield bash setup. However, it doesn't improve your glaive melee damage, which sucks. I really wish it did. This means your base melee with an overshield actually hits slightly harder than a base glaive melee. Also, your unpowered melee hits count as powered melee hits when you have the overshield, meaning this will work with mods like heavy-handed so you can make tons of orbs. It's a very nice interaction, and as you get melee kills with an overshield, it keeps refreshing the overshield duration. So there's a lot to like with this aspect as well. Like I said, it can be great in the right builds. And now that brings us to the Warlock aspects. I'm a longtime lover of Voidlock, going all the way back to D1. So let's take a look at what the Void 3.0 kit has to offer. First up is Chaos Accelerant. It states, hold to overcharge your grenade, making it deadlier and more effective. Vortex Grenade increases the size and linger duration of the vortex. Axiom Bolt creates an additional seeker. Scatter Grenades has submunitions tracked to nearby targets. And Magnetic Grenade releases a short-range Void Blast, which back in the day was called Handheld Supernova on Middle Tree. So I will just play out a bunch of side-by-sides so you can see the difference that this aspect makes. And if you were wondering, yes, it stacks with Echo of Remnants on Vortex Grenades. I also tested it with the other grenades just to make sure there wasn't some hidden interaction, and there is not. Next, we have the new aspect Child of the Old Gods. This is a long one. It states, cast your rift to create a Void Soul. When you damage a target with a weapon, your Void Soul flies to them and drains them, doing damage and weakening them. When a target is being drained, you are granted grenade and melee energy if you're running Healing Rift, or health if you're running Empowering Rift. Defeating a target who is being drained by your Void Soul grants class ability energy. So before we get too far into it, I have to say this. If you kill an enemy in one shot, it will not send out the Void Soul. So you have to damage them a bit to send it out. So if you're in low end content, then a hand cannon may not be the best thing to pair with this if you want to send out your Void Souls. In higher end content, it won't be as big a deal. But yeah, it is easier to send out the Void Souls in lower end content with something like an auto rifle. So just throwing that out there. So now, if we look at the Destiny Data Compendium, they give us lots of info. When we cast the Rift, we get 25 seconds to deploy it. It makes a draining field in a 10 meter radius, damaging every 0.7 seconds for 9.25 seconds, as well as weakening the enemies that it hits. and if we run a healing rift, we'll get 4% grenade and melee energy every 1.4 seconds while it leeches. Or we get 25 HP back every 1.4 seconds with empowering rift. Finally, we get class ability energy based on the enemy rank of the enemy that it kills, with higher tier enemies granting more rift energy. So if you kill lots of enemies, this adds up in a hurry. Like, you can get a rift back in under 20 seconds fairly easily. You can see it in action in the background gameplay. It is a very strong aspect in the right build and a lot of fun to use. It's great for passive regeneration of your abilities, as well as dealing damage over time to enemies, which is always a really strong effect in Destiny 2. And in really ad-dense activities, you could probably leech enough energy to just keep spamming Void Souls and grenades, and the Briarbind's exotic gloves make these things even better. They can also be really annoying to play against in PvP, and they're actually really nice in trials for preventing the enemy team from getting a res, or just being really annoying to deal with and distracting them while you move in and take them out. I've gone flawless a number of times using this aspect on my Void Lock. And finally, we have the OG Devour aspect, Feed the Void. Defeat a target with a Void ability to activate Devour. While Devour is active, Final Blows restore health and extend Devour. So basically, any Void ability kill, including super kills, will grant us Devour. So there's some controversy with class identity in Destiny 2 and how the 3.0 subclasses really homogenized the classes and made them lose their identity, particularly with Warlocks. Before, they were the only ones who could have healing grenades, playing into the support class fantasy, and then Solar 3.0 came along and gave everyone restoration grenades and easy ways to get Radiant. And then with Void, there's a fragment that can just give you Devour for picking up an Orb of Power or Void Breach. But yet, Hunter is still the Invis class, and Titan is the Void Overshield class. And yes, because of this aspect, Warlocks still have the easiest way to get Devour, but it's still stupid easy to get with a fragment. So what Bungie did was they nerfed regular Devour to only provide half health. But if you run this aspect on Warlock, then you get full health when you get a kill with Devour active. And it also frees up a fragment slot because you don't have to run Echo of Starvation. All that being said, I still think this is a great aspect to run, and I will tell you why. First, Devour is an extremely strong verb as I indicated in the verb video. And arguably the strongest build on Warlock is Controverse Hold with Vortex Grenades. It's amazing in high-end content. You can chuck out high damaging grenades very often. So this will allow you to proc Devour just from the grenade kill, rather than having to go into the fray to pick up an Orb of Power to get your Devour chain going. And you could do the same with a Nothing Manacles build as well. And then you will get lots of grenade energy thanks to the grenade regen that you get from Devour. Therefore, this aspect still has a place in the game in my opinion. But I do understand people's gripes towards the loss of identity between the classes, especially for Warlocks. But yeah, it's still a really good aspect, and that's going to wrap up the Void aspect breakdown. I hope you found this video helpful and informative, and if you did, a like and subscription would be very much appreciated. And if you're still here, then thanks so much for watching to the end. See you tomorrow for the final installment of Subclass School, where we break down all the Void abilities. Take care.